everybody. My name is Nelly, and this is another topic on relationships between men and women. And today I wanted to talk about what women should look for in a man from my perspective. Of course, women have different types for men, and this is very personal, very individual or subjective. But I think there are certain qualities that make a man a good candidate for serious relationship. And before I give you my opinion on which are these qualities, I want to share with you the fact that in the recent months or so, since I started creating a content on dating, on relationships, and on dangerous men or men that women should avoid. And I was giving a lot of tips and hints and advice, of course, on how women could detect men who would just waste their time and are not good husband material or are not good for serious relationships and would not appreciate women as they deserve to be appreciated. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about the good man and not only focusing on what we should avoid, but it's also very important to know what we should look for in a man. And I think a lot of women know very well what they don't want and what they don't like, but they don't, not many women know necessarily what to look for. That's my opinion, of course. I think it's much easier to identify the bad things. I mean, our brain functions this way, that it's more inclined to detect the danger, something that's negative, and it makes us a lot more impression, the negative instead of the positive. And we remember the negative for much longer. So that's why I think it's also important to have this self-reflection, of course, each and every one of us, on what we actually want in a relationship and whether we actually want a relationship as well. But for the ladies who are looking for a relationship and having a partner, a life partner, I think there are several qualities of men that they should look for. And as I said, before I jump into these qualities and give you my point of view, I was just a little bit touched today because I've heard about the terrorist attack that happened in Sydney, and everywhere in the social media there was a lot of information on what really happened, how many people were killed, and the tragedy behind it. But there was one important thing that actually happened during this attack, and that was one man who basically, a citizen who jumped over one of the terrorists and basically disarmed him and managed to pull away or pull his gun, and basically in this way saved a lot of lives. And that kind of bravery made me think about all these amazing men out there that really live the life of being protectors and providers, and they protect women and society as this man, I think his name was Ahmed El-Ahmed. And it's just, this event made me think of having and making this live on appreciating all the men out there that are amazing, that are protecting us women and the society in general, that they're brave and they know that the role of the man is basically to provide and protect mostly. Of course, there are all type of men out there, but when you see the bravery and how somebody would really risk his own life to save other people's lives, then you understand how important the role of that kind of man is in our society and in general. And I've seen in also in my personal life, in my everyday life, I see gestures of kindness from men. There are amazing men out there that are super nice, super kind, and many times without expecting anything in return. From throughout my life, I've received a lot of help and support, even for emotional support, and not only from men, also from strangers who, as I said, never ask for anything. Of course, there are men out there that are kind because they have some agenda and they want something from me. They wanted something from me. But there was also a lot of men who I met on the street, in the bar, in the restaurant, that were kind, and we just had a nice conversation. And they were very generous, very nice with me, without any expectation whatsoever. Also, there's so many situations at my work, in my private life, where men have been amazing with me. So they're amazing and loving men out there. So of course, my content, it has been for a long time to help women to protect themselves from those men who don't have this kind of goodness, and they try to exploit women. And unfortunately, they're not an exception. There are a lot of men out there who have secret agendas and are there just to use and abuse women. But now the focus is on the lovely man, and as I said, I want to give you my very short list of qualities that I think are important to be there, to look for in a man. Let me put it this way: to look for in a man, so that it's a good baseline, it's a good start, and if you see that those qualities in a man, then there is a bigger chance that this man is really serious man, mentally stable man, and a man who will treat you right, basically. So the first thing, and I believe it's one of the most important qualities from my standpoint that a man should possess, is self-control and self-discipline. Okay? This is very important because life is not easy, and there are a lot of situations that may trigger him, and if he doesn't know, or he cannot control his emotions and reactions, and reacts in a very negative way, in a very angry way, in a very aggressive way, and harms emotionally or even physically the woman, it's a very big red flag. So if you see a man who can control himself in a critical situations, that he keeps his cool, and by that I don't mean that he doesn't have emotions or he's numb, but he has that maturity, personal maturity, that helps him to acknowledge his emotions and control them in a way that he prevents escalation of the argument or the conflict between him and his partner, or do or say something that's so harmful that it's very difficult later on to forgive. So that's one thing, to be able to control his emotions in a conflict situations, and not only in the interpersonal relationships, but in general. So a man who is self-controlled, or he controls very well his emotions, negative emotions especially, that kind of man is very successful in life in general, not only in relationships, but also in in his work, in his professional endeavors. Okay, because also at work there's a lot of situations that could trigger him to say something or harm his business relationships or lose business relationships. So a self-controlled man, a man who knows how to keep that self-discipline and his emotions in a critical situations and in challenging situations, is a successful man. And ladies, you want to be with a successful man, because that kind of man can be a protector, can be a provider, and a good father and a good partner. Also, I think a man who is self-disciplined would not have addiction problems. Men with addiction problems are men who cannot control their urges, their emotions, are very pleasure driven, and and hence they may do things that have negative consequences for themselves or for their family, just because they cannot control themselves and they just follow their urge at the moment without thinking what the impact would be of doing whatever they are intending to do. So by addictions I mean anything like substance abuse and substance addictions, alcohol, and even sexual addictions, etc. So a man who cannot control himself when he's challenged, when there is a trigger, when there is a situation of a challenge, and he cannot really think logically, but go with the flow and do something that's harmful in long term, is a man who is not self-controlled, and long term that kind of man would bring a lot of issues in the family, in the relationships, and also at his workplace. So it's a very important thing. That's why I say one of the most important qualities in a man for me is that personality, or let's say personal maturity, and which I think entails or is connected to self-discipline and self-control. Super important for both, as I said, for relationships, for managing stress, managing emotions, and at workplace as well. The second quality that I thought is super important and is related with the first one is, for the ladies, you need to look for a successful man, professionally successful man. Why? Because that kind of man, as I said, possesses or has a lot of positive qualities that you need in a man. You need a man who you can count on, who you can rely on, who is mature enough, and who is goal-oriented, success-oriented, who can delay gratifications or pleasure for the long-term success that's ahead of him, who can sacrifice, going to a party and having fun and getting completely wasted, and having, a lot of pleasure. A man who can sacrifice all that and think, okay, I prefer to be sober and wake up early because I have things to do and a job to do, is a man that you can rely on. It's a stable man. And it's a man who possesses, as I said, a lot of qualities that are important for building a good relationship. The third quality is a man who is empathetic. Okay? As we say, a man who has a good heart. And everybody understands different things when I say empathetic or having a good heart. But intuitively, I would say it's just a man who can put himself in the shoes of others and understand the concerns of the other person, where she or he is coming from, and have that social intelligence, okay? And also, being empathetic obviously means that that kind of a man would not be a psycho, right? He will not be a cruel, aggressive, and abusive man. Because empathetic men would not resort to violence. They would do anything to prevent hurting another human being, especially their loved ones, their family, their partner, their kids. A man who, is empathetic not only with his family, but also in general. He likes to help others, to contribute to his family and to the society. And that leads me to the next quality, which is generosity. A generous man is a man with an open heart. A man who is generous with his money, he is generous with his heart and his love and his emotions. A man who is stingy, and it takes him so much effort to, be generous, and so much time, and it's so difficult for him to be generous, let me put it this way. A man who has problems in, give to others is a man who cannot give also love and care and protection. So being generous is also very important. It's not, I don't put it at the last place. I don't necessarily rank these qualities per priority or importance, although I think the first one is one of the most important for me. But they're also interconnected, interrelated qualities. So today I was thinking of a couple that I've seen at a bar, at a restaurant actually. I was having lunch today, and that reminded me of the quality of generosity. Generosity as a quality in a man. Because I was observing a couple. It was an old couple, like old lady and old man, and they sat next to me. And they ordered what they ordered, and at the end they asked for the bill. The lady asked for the bill, and her partner or husband, very quickly, paid just left the money at the table. And when the change came, she took the change. It made me laugh. It was so cute. And she was so cute, really. She did it so naturally. So it was so normal for her. And during the whole time when they were, sitting next to me, and occasionally I just look at them because they're so cute, and I really like to see old couples that respect each other. They show cariño, love, care towards each other, and it's very sweet. And when she took the change, he was like looking at her with so much love, and he smiled, and he, was such a gentleman with her. He pulled the chair and they left, and I was like, he really, he was really seeing her or watching her as a queen. She was very elegant lady, by the way, very elegant. Despite her age, she looked really good, and very, very feminine, And I was like, it's so important. So when a man really loves a woman or cares about a woman, he looks at her as a queen. I mean, whatever she does, it doesn't matter. He loves her. Of course, I'm sure it's mutual and all that, and that's why I think it's really important when I talk about the things that women should look for and things that they should avoid or be very careful when it comes to men and when it comes to dating. Because, sometimes, especially nowadays, people think, okay, with our culture, it's so important to be careless and free spirit and don't think about consequences. And a lot of men who actually want to exploit and use women say that, oh, don't think about tomorrow, let's have fun. And they, just try to pressure women to be intimate, to be, to touch them and grab their bodies and do things that are not appropriate and are super disrespectful. And I'm like, a man who, I always have been thinking and seeing that a man who really, really respects a woman, not only respects her, but loves her and cares for her. He's like, he looks at her as a queen. He is so careful how he talks, how he behaves, so that he doesn't in any way pushes her away. He's so careful with everything, with the smallest detail. And all these men who are so arrogant, so self-confident, and they're so pushy, these are the men that ladies, they don't care about you. They just want to use your bodies as, an object. And as I said in my previous video, that kind of men are actually the men who are very narcissistic, very traumatized men who in most cases really hate women. So I would like to close this topic off with something positive. So ladies, think about these qualities. Let me know if you have your list of qualities that are important for you to see in a man as something that would be like a telling sign for you. Oh, this man is a good candidate for a real relationship. Thank you very much to all that have joined this live. Bye.